Name 5 Bia songs, gun pointed to your head. Bow, I'm dead. Okay, guys, so I'm here to talk about Cardi B's long-awaited sophomore album, Am I the Drama? We're finally here 7 years later. I'm going to talk about her rollout, her features, some shots that were taken in the songs, you know, what each song was about, and we're going to do an individual song-by-song rating, and then I'm going to give you guys my overall album rating. If you guys been following me for a while, last year a lot of the female rappers dropped, and I did this for each female rapper's album, so it's only right that Cardi gets hers. So if you want to check out the ones that I did for Lotto, Sugar Honey Iced Tea, JT, City Cinderella, Megan, Act 1 and Act 2, Glorious by Glorilla, Ice Spice Y2K, they're all in my Women in Rap / music reviews collection or playlist. Now, I will just give you guys my overall thoughts from the beginning. I would say that this wasn't a great album, but it wasn't a terrible album. It was decent. It was in the middle. I feel like me and the rest of the general public would have probably received this better in 2021 or 2022. I know she said she didn't have enough songs, but Invasion of Privacy was only 13 songs, and she literally had WAP Up, Press Money, Trophies is an old song, Check Please is an old song, and On My Back is an old song. I've heard those snippets like a few years back. So I feel like she did have enough songs that she could have pulled together a 13-song project in 2021 or 2022 that we would have received better, because it wouldn't have been such a long wait in between it. When you put such a long wait like this, I think people are going to be looking for another 10 out of 10 album like Invasion of Privacy, and it's going to be very hard to give that because of that sophomore slump or that sophomore curse that people talk about. Now, I will say she did a great promo run. I think a lot of us know by now she's pregnant with her 4th child with her new boyfriend, NFL player Stephon Diggs. Congratulations to her. I have told y'all before how I felt about Cardi repeatedly having kids back to back, and how I feel like it kind of hinders her career. And I do still agree with that, because I feel like now a lot of people are sitting here questioning how this tour is going to go, because the tour is supposed to be in February or March, but we'll just have to see how it pans out. At the end of the day, it's her body, it's her choice, it's her life, and she does have the money to take care of the children. But I do think it hinders her musical career, and I do stand on that. But congratulations to her. She's pregnant again. She was very emotional at the listening party that she had, which was streamed on TikTok Live and Apple Music. And she sat down with Ebro at this party and talked to him. And she also did do an old school rollout to an extent, which a lot of people were praising her for. You know, she was in the streets selling the album. She was on the train selling the album. She's been doing meet and greets. She used the courtroom drama in the court case that she had recently to kind of promote the album as well. She's had this DoorDash deal where she's been doing these commercials with Amaya from Love Island. So she's definitely been putting her face out there and doing what she needs to do to promote the album. I will say that there is a bit of a double standard, because her doing stuff like going into the street and saying, please buy my album, and like waving at cars and stuff, y'all are laughing at it because it's her and y'all like her personality. So y'all like, oh, Cardi's so funny and she's really out here putting in work. But when people like JT are doing little club venues or little meet and greets at bars to try to really get that core fan base and get people to lock in with them, y'all make fun of them. Y'all call it a backyard barbecue. So y'all got to be fair across the board. She was promoting this album like this because she knew that she needed to, compared to the way that the first album was promoted. All of the first album's promotion was professional and official, like the stuff I'm about to show you on the next slide. Basically, it was all interviews and stuff. She wasn't out on the streets promoting that album like she's doing this one. And there's a reason for that. She knows that she needs to. Now, when I say that IOP had a professional rollout, this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. And she did do this stuff for this album as well. She sat down with many people. She sat down with Sway, Gayle King, Today Show, Jennifer Hudson. This was another Apple Music interview. She sat down with Spotify with Kelly Rowland. She went to the Breakfast Club. She went to iHeartRadio with Elvis Duran. She did a pop-up at the Jimmy Fallon show. She had a Billboard interview, and then her and her stylist Tokyo did an interview with Galore magazine, I believe, to talk about like her style moments, her hair moments, and things like that. So again, definitely was everywhere and putting in the work to get the album out there. So I give her credit for that. She's working hard, especially to be as far along as she is. Okay, so now we're going to start with the first song on the album, which was Dead. I said I don't feel like this was as strong of an intro as Get Up 10 was. Get Up 10 is one of the only 10s in Cardi's discography for me. It's probably Get Up 10, Red Bars, and that's probably it. But it was still a decent song. You know, she was rapping. There was some bars in there. It did have a good, like, upbeat energy, like, I'm not coming to play with you bitches energy, and it definitely set the scene. I do kind of feel like Summer wasn't as needed on this record. I kind of would have preferred if it just started with the whole intro where it was saying how she's on a killing spree of rappers, and then it would have just went straight into her rapping. Also, towards the end of the song, I heard what sounded like SZA, and I was kind of confused, like, is this Summer Walker or is this SZA? And once I looked into it, I was left even more confused. So I'm really not sure what's going on with that. SZA is not an official credited feature, but Genius says that it's an AI-assisted outro from SZA. And then there's stuff going around where people said, SZA said, I love her and I wanted to be on the album. I was just overwhelmed, had to lock in on myself and do some creative searching, needed to restore my mind creatively, basically saying that she was never able to turn in the verse that she was supposed to do for Cardi's album. Then there was a post when Cardi first revealed the album cover and SZA commented, let me send this verse. So I don't know if SZA ended up sending the verse and that's what we heard, or if SZA didn't turn in the verse and Cardi did do some type of AI assisted outro that sounded like SZA. Because you see, like, there's other articles that are kind of suggesting that, like, maybe she did, because they saying it sounded like SZA, but it was slightly robotic, and you're not really able to tell if it's her or not. And as far as I see, there's no credit for SZA on the track. Now, Dead is the first place that we get started with the shots that are thrown on this album. I'm not exactly sure who the shots for Dead were for, so we're going to go over them and we can speculate in the comments. Now, the main shot that stuck out to me on Dead was guess who dropped 1,000 times and none of it's working? Guess who doing shows for damn near free and pockets hurting? Guess who make sure that she play nice when we in person? So there's a lot of speculation on who that could be for. I personally feel like it's for Sweetie. We've been hearing the rumor for a long time that there's some tension between Cardi and Sweetie, and Quavo and now Cardi have kind of suggested that Sweetie slept with Offset. Cardi didn't say it directly, Quavo did, but Cardi did say something like other female rappers or female artists that I've been cool with and gave advice to turned around and slept with my man. And people felt like that was her confirming Sweetie and Krishan allegedly sleeping with Offset. And I do feel like Sweetie has dropped repeatedly. None of it's really working. I do feel like at this point, her show price and her booking fee has probably gone down because her relevancy has dwindled. There's no way she's getting paid the same thing for shows that she was getting paid in 2017, 2018. And I'm pretty sure that Sweetie does probably play nice with Cardi in person, even though they've never collabed, which is surprising because Cardi loves collabing with the other female rappers, and they were very closely aligned when they were dating Offset and Quavo. But for some reason, they never crossed paths. Okay, so yeah, first song was Dead, 7.5. The next song was Hello. I gave Hello a 7 out of 10. We had gotten this hook previewed, and I was actually pretty excited for it, and the song kind of underwhelmed me. I did not like the first verse at all. Like, she said something like, I'll tell a nigga that his mama raised the bomb. Like, it's just like that random flow and that stupid shit that she be doing that I told y'all I can't take. I don't like her delivery and flow sometimes. I feel like she just don't be on beats how she should. And I did not like that first verse. I felt like she wasn't in the pocket. But the hook and the second verse did save the song. The second verse was better and the hook was still very catchy. Hello, it's me. Hello, it's me. Like, so, you know, it's a 7 out of 10. Now, the next song is Magnet. Magnet is one of my favorite songs on the album. It's in my top 3. I gave Magnet a 8.5 out of 10. This is where she really started taking shots at people, specifically JT, Uzi, and Ice Spice. And I believe Krishan got hit on this song. So let's go over those lyrics and everybody who got hit. Before we get into the lyrics, though, I will say that this song definitely reminded me of Boss Man D-Lo flow. I think he would have been a good feature for this. I will say my favorite part of that song is the hook where she was like, I know these hoes is mad. It's time for hoes to gag. I'm putting belt to ass. So when she says, slow face bitch, whose spot is you taking? My spot forever, ho. I'm like a Dalmatian. I feel like that was to Ice Spice. A lot of people was kind of saying that Ice Spice and Cardi was having a similar come up, and there was a lot of similarities between them as far as being from the Bronx, being Dominican, the big butt. And also that Ice Spice, when she did first come out, I think she did get some number ones or at least like 3 top 5 singles back to back. So she was just having that debut where she was getting shot to superstardom, getting invited to the Met Gala, working with people like Nicki and Taylor Swift, having top 5 records. So people was putting her up there, similar to how Cardi had that super quick rise to superstardom. And Ice Spice did start getting a little cocky, and on her mixtape or her album, she did have a few bars where she was saying like she was taking spots and she was throwing shade about bitches changing their face or people changing the body but not fixing the face. And we know everybody be saying Cardi got like a lot of face surgery, and some people still feel like she's not that cute with it. I feel like Cardi was cute before the face surgery and now. I just think that she needed to fix her teeth. I don't think she needed to do anything to her face. She was always a cute girl to me. Then she said, got my baby daddy acting like my baby mama, huh? So that was obviously for Offset. You know, he be crashing out like a bitter baby mama. He's the definition of a bitter baby daddy from what we've been seeing lately. And then when we get into this verse, I think it was mostly for JT, but I do still feel like there was some other shots for Krishan and maybe Ice in here. But let's talk about this hating ass bitch, ungrateful ass bitch, I don't care, met somebody, gotta say it ass bitch, fake friend ass bitch. A clown ass bitch. On the net, kick your friend while she down ass bitch. Your loyalty depends who you around ass bitch. Backdoor hoe hating on the low ass bitch. So I feel like that was for JT, especially the part where she said kick your friend while she down, because everybody did kind of turn on Carisha with the whole Diddy situation. And that's when her and JT got into it on the internet. And JT was telling Carisha, like, you gonna stop playing yourself. And everybody was kind of rooting for JT and against Carisha. And JT did, egg that on with her getting into it with Carisha on Twitter that day. But I do feel like a lot of us was on JT's side, because prior to that, Carisha just seemed like she didn't care about the City Girls and JT wanted to put out music. So I get where Cardi was coming from by throwing the shot, saying that JT kicked her friend while she was down. But I personally was on JT's side when it came to the whole JT versus Carisha situation. Then she said, you a shady ass bitch. You've been trashed since birth. Mama didn't want you, Brenda's baby ass bitch. Now, some people felt like this was about Krishan. I don't know who it was about, but I don't think this section of it was about JT. Now, after that, I do feel like we get back to JT. Tail wagging ass bitch, bottom feeder ass bitch, all that dick riding, still ain't get a feature ass bitch. Because even though JT was on the Super Freaky Girl remix with Nicki, she never got a feature of her own, even for that project that she put out, which I think would have actually helped her a lot. And there was a No Bars remix with Nicki that we never got. So there was a reason that Nicki didn't allow JT to put that out or put that on City Cinderella. So this is where Uzi gets hit with JT. She says she just mad she got that she sharing bags with. My dude cheap, but I don't stick no in this bitch. Now she starts to drag JT about the fashion, because JT did try to shade Cardi regarding fashion on Serving on City Cinderella. So she said, you look a hot mess, easily impressed ass bitch. You never gave looks, just started getting dressed ass bitch. Ricky O, the only fashion house you know ass bitch. You should have asked me what it took you to the show, little bitch. Now we know JT love her some Rick Owens. So yeah, that was all for JT. I feel like they both ate each other up. I feel like she did hit JT a few times. She ate JT up a little bit, but I do feel like JT also ate Cardi up with Serving and the line that she had on Intro Hope. That was to Cardi. But yes, overall Magnet 8.5. Now the next one we had was Pick It Up featuring Selena Gomez. Pick It Up is a 4 out of 10 for me. I said it's a pop bop. It's not really my style, but I see the purpose that it serves for the album. I think it would definitely do good with that pop community. I feel like Selena carried with the catchy hook. I feel like Cardi verses on this song was a complete mess, if I'm being honest. Like, there was a part on the verse where she was singing and she was like, I tried to find another nigga, but the dick wasn't as good. Like, girl, what are you talking about? It's just the elementary bars still, and just, yeah, I didn't like her verses on that. Next up, we got Imaginary Players. I never reviewed Imaginary Players, but I will say when I initially heard it as a single, I felt like it wasn't a good single choice. I felt like her delivery and flow wasn't the greatest, but I felt like it did have some bars in there. I just felt like for her to be using such a big sample like Jay-Z, the delivery needed to be better. And I felt like it should have just stayed on the album and been an album cut rather than a lead single. I still feel that way, but I will say that hearing the song on the album, it fit better. And it was received better by me like I expected it to be, because there were other songs on the album that I liked even less and that were less my style. Imaginary Players is my style because it's a real hip-hop song. I just don't think she executed it the best. But compared to some other songs like Pick It Up and the next song, Bodega Baddy, I did like Imaginary Players more than that. So Imaginary Players gets a 7 out of 10. The next song we have on the album is Bodega Baddy. I gave Bodega Baddy a 5 out of 10. Once again, this is a song that's not my style, but I see the purpose that it serves, especially for the Spanish community, the NYC community, two big markets for her. But this song honestly sounded extremely chaotic to me, and I felt like the beat was a little bit too fast for her. Like, she couldn't rap that fast and ride that beat and keep up with that beat as good as she could have. But overall, like I said, I do see it being a successful party song, especially in the Spanish community, quinceañeras, stuff like that. But it's just not for me. So it's a 5 out of 10. The next song on the project that we have is Salute. I am hearing that song is a 2 Chainz flip. He is a writer on the song. So I guess he had a male version where he was kind of saying salute the real niggas. And she changed her version to salute the real bitches. I felt like he would have been a great feature on this song. And he would actually help the song since he is a writer and it's known that it's a flip of his song. But yeah, Salute got a 6.5 out of 10 for me. I felt like it was boring. Like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't nothing memorable or that stood out about it. It just was like, like, it was good. And it was that 2 Chainz flow and she did it well, but it just wasn't memorable. I think him being on it probably would have made it a little more memorable. Next up, we got Safe featuring Kehlani, which seems like it is the next single off the album because a video was dropped with it. I gave Safe an 8 out of 10. I do feel like Kehlani carries the song. Cardi doesn't even rap that much on this song. I feel like Kehlani sings on it more than Cardi raps. But it is a good song. I do like it. The video kind of confused me, you know, like this section where Cardi and Kehlani was dancing in the pajamas, I thought that was cute. But once it started doing the storytelling with Cardi being in a relationship with the guy, she's pregnant, then they start arguing and getting into it. He leaves the house. When he leaves the house, like an intruder comes in and Cardi ends up getting shot while pregnant. And then the guy comes back in and sees that she's shot and he's like devastated. So I don't know what story that was trying to tell. It kind of was the opposite of the song, because the song is saying that, you know, she feels safe in the relationship she's in now, which is with Stefan. But the video was basically showing a woman who's not safe because she's pregnant by her man, and then her man and her are getting into it. He leaves her in the house and she ends up getting shot. So I don't know if that was talking about her old situation with Offset. I don't know what the video was exactly trying to portray, but the video left me a little bit confused. But I do like the song. The next song on the album was Man of Your Word. This is another one of my top 3 on the album. It's an 8.5 out of 10. This song was very personal. It had a great message, and it wasn't as lyrically strong as I wanted it to be, but it was very vulnerable, and it felt like almost a venting session about everything she went through with Offset. I did like that she took accountability on the second verse, and it wasn't all like, yeah, Offset just cheated and he did everything wrong in the marriage and just portraying herself as a victim. She actually did take accountability for some of the stuff she did and how she felt like she wasn't the best wife. She didn't pay attention to him being hurt and his feelings, probably about Takeoff's death and maybe other things, because she was so focused on business and trying to make money. The feature on this song was uncredited, but I looked it up. The guy singing the hook, his name is Dougie F. I do believe he also wrote the original song, and Cardi flipped it to a female version and obviously personalized the verses to her situation. But yeah, Man of Your Word is the song that I felt the most. You know, it actually made me feel something. I felt like a little tears coming to my eyes, and I really felt her pain more than any other song on this album. This had some emotion to it. Okay, the next song on the album is What's Going On with Lizzo. This string of songs, Man of Your Word, What's Going On, and Shower Tears, were basically the Offset set, where she was just back to back just venting about Offset. Man of Your Word was definitely the strongest of the 3. What's Going On was kind of like another pop bop to go along with Pick It Up. I do prefer this song over Pick It Up. And like I said, this song and Man of Your Word definitely felt like Be Careful Part 2s. Like, okay, I told you to be careful with me. You thought I wouldn't practice what I preach, and now I'm gone. So yeah, again, I felt like it had great messaging and it was personal, but it just wasn't my favorite sonically. I feel like Lizzo kind of came on there playing around. I didn't hate the hook, but I definitely didn't like the bridge that she had. I felt like that was unnecessary. And then there was a couple of extra points on the song where she was just screaming extra loud. I didn't need that either, but I did not hate the hook. Okay, next we got Shower Tears with Summer Walker. I also gave this song a 6.5. Okay, I felt like Summer did better on this song than she did on Dead. I felt like Cardi's verses on this song were kind of personal, but not as personal or specific as the previous 2 songs. And similar to how I felt on Hello, I felt like Cardi's second verse on this song was stronger than the first verse. Next, we got Outside, which was obviously a single. I always liked Outside. The Offset Dragons were needed. Yeah, and I still like the song. You know, I listened to it straight through with the album. I felt like it fit because it was right after those 3 kind of sad songs where she was reminiscing and venting about everything that Offset put her through. And right after that, we get Outside. So Outside got an 8 out of 10 for me. And the next song is Pretty and Petty, which is the Bia diss. So I did do a whole video about Cardi and Bia's beef last year in June. So if you want to go in my Women in Rap / music reviews, you can go ahead and find that. I broke down how the whole beef started and where we were up to that point, which was basically when Bia had dropped the diss track, mentioned Cardi's kids, mentioned Offset, and then Cardi responded in the Wannabe remix that she did with Glorilla and Meg. So now Cardi is coming back with a vengeance, and this is her full diss track response. Now, I will say that it is delayed because it's so late, but I can't blame her for hitting back because Bia did speak on her children. I also will say that Bia did get dragged, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Bia does have some talent. She is a monotonous rapper. I do feel like she raps very monotone. I always say she sounds like she smoked 8 blunts, but she does have talent and she can rap. Cardi is just bigger and does more numbers than her. But Bia deserved her lashings because you had no business speaking on that lady kids or even speaking on her marriage and trying to make y'all beef so personal when it's all really based on you being a Nicki Minaj lapdog. Okay, so name 5 Bia songs, gun pointed to your head. Bow, I'm Dead. That Melatonin Flow, Putting Us to Bed. I'm Doing You a Favor, Epic Run Me My Bread. So basically saying nobody knows 5 Bia songs. She got that sleepy melatonin monotonous flow that I just mentioned, putting us to bed, sounding like she smoked 8 blunts. And basically Cardi saying, I'm doing you a favor, Epic, run me my bread, because Bia is signed to Epic. And Cardi knows that her even mentioning Bia's name and giving her this full dedicated diss track is going to bring her more attention than she usually gets. Bia also was talking about Cardi B's BBL, saying that it was a mess. So Cardi responded to that, saying, every time I pray, I thank God I'm not you. I'd rather die on the surgery table before I got to walk around here looking like you. Then she said, you want to beef with me? Are you sure? Do she even got a BET award? And I believe I was watching Armand Wiggins live the other day. He looked it up. Bia does not even have a BET award. And then she also said, just a big lap dog, be a Labrador. Basically saying, Bia's a lap dog. And like I said, I feel like they whole beef started once Bia got the feature from Nicki, because a couple months before that, Bia was cool with Cardi B on Twitter, tweeting her lyrics and everything else. Then Cardi says, you a fake ghetto bitch and I don't like you. Your mama used to fuck around with white men. Disgusting. Girl, you trifling. I hate when a bitch thinks she cute because she light skinned. You talking about culture, you wildin'. Meatball, you Italian. I'm Cardi B, shorty. Who you want to be, shorty? You from Boston. Let's have a little tea party. So I felt like that part was cute. She was saying just facts about Bia, but in a clever way. Meatball, you Italian. Boston tea party. Then she started basically dropping tea, that stuff that we haven't heard. Why you got kicked out of that condo. I guess Bia got kicked out of her condo. Why you be online and be lying though. Now then she said, why you always at Diddy house? I heard they combed that little kitty out. I must assume that this is for Bia. Some people was trying to say that this was for Carisha, but why would she just randomly throw a Carisha bar in a song that's dedicated to Bia? Like, no, I think she was talking about Bia, and Cardi knows something that we don't know. Bia probably either was messing with Diddy or messing with one of the sons, allegedly. And then Cardi started saying that Bia's breath stink. She said, why you always in people's face with that shitty mouth? Diarrhea Bia, breath so stink, you can smell it before you see her. And also basically saying that Bia don't got no body, and it's been 2 years since she had any hits. She said, it's been 2 years since you put a number on the board. I'm a bad bitch and you mad because you built like your dad. And then she said, you damn near unemployed. They only book you when they can't afford Coy Leray. Then she said, 32 and you got acne on your face. Dirty bitch, go and change your pillowcase. But overall, I said I felt like Bia got tore, dragged, demolished. I felt like this was Cardi's Bigfoot. It was a playful drag. I lived for it. And speaking of Bigfoot, I said Nicki Minaj is probably writing Bia a diss track right now as we speak, because Bia's gonna need help. She needs to be responding. So does JT. Okay, so yeah, Pretty and Petty was my other top 3. That was another 8.5. The next song is Better Than You featuring Cash Cobain. I gave this song a 5.5 out of 10. I feel like compared to some of the other slow down or chill songs on the album, Cardi was in a pocket here. This was good for her as far as her delivery and flow for a slowed down track. And I feel like it would have been better if it was her alone. I think if it was Cardi alone, the song would have been 2.5 minutes. All of Cash Cobain's feature was at the very end, and it extended the song an extra minute and a half, and it just didn't do nothing for the song for me. I felt like it wasn't needed. So when I play the song, as of now, I play Cardi's 2.5 minutes, and then when he comes in, I skip. So I just think that wasn't necessary. On my back, I gave a 6 out of 10. It features Lourdes, which is interesting because Lourdes is signed to Heavy on it. As far as I know, that's what we all were allegedly hearing recently, that she was signed to her. And she was on Nicki's album Pink Friday 2 on Cowgirl. But Lourdes has released some music this year, and it's still under Lourdes Music, like her independent label, or, however she releases music. So I'm not sure if she's officially signed to Nicki, but she's definitely affiliated with Nicki and Nicki's label Heavy on it. So it is kind of surprising that she's on Cardi's album. But like I said, this On Your Back snippet is very old. I've heard this snippet of this hook 2 or 3 years ago, previewed by Cardi. So who knows? Lourdes probably did the song with Cardi before she ever signed with Nicki or got attached to Nicki. But like I said, I do feel like Lourdes carried this song. The hook is the part that I find myself really bobbing to. I feel like the verses on this weren't the best, especially the second verse. Cardi just kept saying, in this pussy. It's just like, girl, come on. Like, we gotta get these lyrics to be better. We gotta work on our vocabulary. So yeah, this song was a 6 out of 10. It really could have been better because the hook is such a vibe. If Cardi would have done better verses, this song could have easily been an 8 for me because I like the vibe of the song. But because of the lackluster lyrics, it's a 6 out of 10. Next song we got is Time, which in my opinion was Cardi's Glorilla set, or her Southern set, Tomorrow 2 coded set. I feel like she know that everybody like her Tomorrow 2 feature. That's one of her best features. That's what everybody says. And she was in a pocket on that song. So she said, let me get my own song where I could get in that same pocket. And I feel like she did that. This song is a 7.5 out of 10 for me. Definitely a song I see growing and potentially being played at parties and things like that. Okay, next up we got Check Please. Check Please is my least favorite song on the album. It's a 3.5 out of 10 for me. To an extent, this song do remind me of her early mixtape music, but that's not really good because that means it sounds dated and it sounds like there's no growth, again, in the delivery and lyrics. But yes, I said I felt like the flow on that song was a mess, especially for it to be such a cocky song. It also sounded very dated. It was a part of it that was an old snippet. And overall, to me, it was just a filler track that could have been kept. Next is Principal featuring Janet Jackson. The feature was clickbait. It was just a sample of like old Janet Jackson vocals from a song that is released. So it wasn't even like unreleased vocals, I don't think. So yeah, it wasn't a feature. That was clickbait. But that song is cool. It's catchy. It's not much to it, but it's a cool, catchy song. It is very short. It's just over 2 minutes. I gave Principal a 6 out of 10. Okay, the next song was Trophies. That's another old snippet, but I'm actually glad that that one made the cut because I feel like she was actually in a pocket on this song. She tried some different flows on this song, and I felt like for the most part she executed them well. There was also some shots thrown on this song as well. I gave Trophies a 7.5 out of 10. The next song was Nice Guy with Tyler. I gave this song a 5.5 out of 10. I didn't really know how to feel about it. It was another pop experimental crossover song. Not really my style, but again, I see the purpose it serves for the album. Like, the song just did nothing for me, but I didn't hate it either. Pretty similar to how I felt about Bodega Baddy, but Nice Guy was less chaotic and more listenable than Bodega Baddy, so I gave it the extra 0.5 because Bodega Baddy was a 5 out of 10, so this was a 5.5 out of 10. And the last song is Killing You Hoes. I did expect to like this song. I figured that it would interpolate or sample Trina, and I was right. Again, the song wasn't as lyrically strong as I wanted it to be, but her flow was really good on this song. I feel like there was some shots thrown on this song as well. One that definitely stuck out to me, which was definitely a Nicki shot in my opinion. She said something about girls need to stop playing with their nostrils. So, yeah. Now, I'll just let y'all read this because this is what me and my friend were talking about. So I was basically saying I don't think I'll be counting WAP or up towards these ratings because the songs are so old, 3 to 5 years old at this point. I did count Put It on the Floor and Sunday Service for Lotto's album, but when I checked, those songs were a year or less old, you know, from when she dropped the album. So I just feel like those songs are too old for me to count towards the rating. But I will just say WAP, I gave a 7.5 out of 10. You could pause to read. And Up, I gave a 8 out of 10. Now, when I add up the songs and divide it by 21 without WAP and Up, the average is going to be a 6.69 out of 10. But even if I did add WAP and Up, which I did, and then divide it by 23, it only brought the average up to a 6.78. So WAP and Up wasn't going to help change my review that much. But yes, so that's my overall review and rating for Cardi's new album, a 6.69 out of 10. And here you can see my top 5 is Magnet, Pretty and Petty, Man of Your Word, Outside, and Safe. And my bottom 5 is Check Please, Pick It Up, Bodega Baddy, Nice Guy, and Better Than You. Overall, like I said, it wasn't a terrible project. It wasn't a great project. I think it would have been better received if it was dropped a couple years ago. There was things about it that I did like and things about it that I didn't like. And for the most part, it's still the same things. Like, I still think she does good on versatility, making different type of songs and having like a well-rounded album. But my issues still remain with the lyrical ability, the delivery, the flow, the enunciation. But like I said, she still did good with vulnerability and personal references as well, you know, bringing her personal life into the music. But at least we finally got the second album, and we'll just see what happens from here. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. If you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. Let me know your thoughts on the album in the comments as well. See y'all later. Bye.